So it started about a year and a half ago. This is when I started to notice that agencies were getting less work, freelancers were really starting to struggle, some of them sort of just shuttering their business or going to work at another organization or just getting out of WordPress completely. And that's when I saw that there's change coming, and instead of it just looming over the horizon, like we always knew there was going to be change with WordPress, we always knew that things couldn't always be up and to the right, meaning that the trajectory of WordPress and the upside of it was going to have to change at some point. So I don't know why this change happened specifically, and I'm not here to speak to everyone, and I certainly don't have the answer. What I do know is for season 8 of the Matt Report, that's one of the things I'm going to dive into. I'm going to dive into this concept of WordPress is changing, so how do we deal with that? So of course, there's always been naysayers in the WordPress space. They've always said, don't put all your eggs in one basket, myself included. But there's been always that comfort factor that, hey, WordPress isn't going anywhere. And I don't think WordPress is going anywhere, but maybe the way we do business as WordPress freelancers, creatives, product owners, big organizations that leverage WordPress as a cornerstone of a product offering, I think that's gonna change. And what I wanna do is prepare us, or at least start to have that conversation that is gonna get people thinking about the future with or without WordPress as a core of your business. So there's this thing, it's that people can learn a whole bunch of stuff on the internet, and that means that you as a potential service provider, somebody who wants to build a website, design a website, code a website, or just consult on websites, you can go out, you can learn all this stuff. And you've got a leg up on your consumers or your customers because, hey, you're in this space. You understand the tech market, you understand how to put things together. This stuff doesn't scare you, you've been doing it all your life. But then things just get easier and easier. And then maybe that catches the ear of your potential customer, and that customer goes out and starts tinkering with her website herself. No longer does she want to go hire you for $65 an hour. She's just going to start to build it out on her own. And why not? Because web hosts make it super easy and super cheap when you're just starting out. Not only can you get cheapo hosting for $5 a month, but you can also get a whole bunch of stuff on top of that that'll help you build this website, maybe. If you're willing to put in some hours. And maybe we've seen that happen exponentially with larger organizations, nonprofits, news sites, where instead of going out and hiring that agency for 100 grand, they hire one person internally to build it themselves, and they just give them a year to build it out. They're already locked in a contract with some kind of proprietary CMS, or maybe they're not even looking to move that. They're happy with what it's doing for them, and they just want to launch microsites, and WordPress is a great way to do it. But let's learn internally and hire somebody internally. I feel like that's the culmination of what's happened over the last year and a half, maybe 2 years, where the education in this space, how to use WordPress, where to host it, the commoditization of all of those technologies have really helped us hit this plateau. And it's right now, it's this moment right here, or at least within the next 6 months, where the biggest changes are gonna happen. So I have 5 sort of leading indicators of why I feel like there's change coming and why I want to talk about it more on this channel and on my podcast. Number 1, there's simply less buzz going around. I don't feel the energy that I used to. And I know some people are going to be offended by that. Some people are going to be upset about it. I guess I should preface all of this by saying I still love WordPress. I think it's a core component of any business, publisher, nonprofit, e-commerce, or news, media outlet, otherwise. It's a great platform, and I think many people should invest in it, but I feel like there's less buzz around it. It doesn't feel as hyped, and maybe some of the next points are going to lead to why. And, just for me, looking at my Twitter sphere, from looking at blog posts and blog articles and general news around the space, just don't feel the energy that I used to. Number 2, there's less hype to push everything to WordPress. I feel like years ago, for better or worse, everybody was trying to push everything into WordPress. Any problem that came up, the solution was WordPress. Anytime, a small mom and pop shop needed a WordPress site or needed a website, it was WordPress. Now, based on what I'm seeing on Twitter, the feedback I get from my local meetups, is now people are saying, look, we're done hassling with all that software. We're done wrestling all of that stuff. We just need a solution. And maybe these hosted solutions like a Squarespace and a Wix have caught up in terms of marketing and brand position. Now people are like, you know what? Screw it. Take my $100 a year. I'll build my site over here. And then maybe I'll make the leap to WordPress when I get quote unquote serious about building a site. But for now, I just need something quick and dirty, that's gonna help me get online. And I've seen more push to go away from choosing WordPress, which actually might be a good thing, than it is to just solve everything with WordPress. Number 3, influencers from a few years ago, they're just not as amplified anymore. There's a lot of people that used to sort of rah-rah around WordPress and publish tons of content around WordPress and all these things that you can do for WordPress, both as an end user, as a marketer, and as a business person, and as an enterprise, myself included. A lot of us just are more quiet now in WordPress. And I think it's part of, points 1 and 2 is there's this feeling of, hey, you know what? Maybe we just don't have much more to talk about. Like we've built a piece of software. It's really good, but it's not for everybody. And you know what? All those awesome plugins that we used to mention and get super hyped about, well, some of them went out of business. Some of them aren't as good as we thought they were. And the others who are doing really well, they're just maybe now pivoting to moving away from WordPress. So it leaves us in an awkward position, but I feel like there's less of that, I don't even want to say it, but like thought leadership and influencing around WordPress than there used to be. And number 4, another note, which I guess could wrap into some of these others here, but it's one that's much more prominent on its own, is a lot of people talk about the learning curve around WordPress is still too great. No matter how awesome you make your plugin or easy your theme is, or all of the efforts behind the community and .org and Automatic and the whole emphasis around the software, people still, to this day, say it's still too hard to use for the average user. And even some of the higher end users, ones that are savvy to web technology or web applications, that kind of thing, still kind of struggle with it if they haven't spent the time to learn it. And maybe that's just a thing that's echoing across where, people are just like, I'm not going to recommend WordPress until somebody's absolutely ready. And if I do, it's only going to be in a particular use case. So I don't have to teach them how to do all this stuff. But certainly the how to use WordPress and WordPress is still too hard is something that I'm seeing more and more often. And number 5, I know I've been beating this horse a little too much here, but it's Gutenberg. Gutenberg is controlling the discussion, the dialogue around WordPress right now, for better or for worse. I don't think that everybody hates Gutenberg. I don't think everybody loves Gutenberg. I think some people are in the middle, maybe like me. But we do know that this is going to be probably one of the biggest disruptions in WordPress, since the new admin interface, right? Or maybe even custom fields and, custom post types. This is really going to change, not because of people being able to build pages within WordPress without having to know code, but it's really going to be the start of, I know I've been saying this a lot, the way that Automatic monetizes this whole ecosystem. When Gutenberg is ready, and I don't mean immediately, and it might be a year from now, but the synergy that we'll see between Gutenberg and Jetpack, or Jetpack and Gutenberg, whichever angle you're looking at it from, it's going to be pretty dominant on how you can buy themes and interact with components of WordPress that we've never seen before. And I think that'll be the big push. I don't want to talk about what that does to third-party plugin developers or theme authors. I don't think that it puts people out of business, but what I do think it does is change things, obviously. And I think change is needed, again, something that Matt Mullenweg has said before. And it's within these gaps, within these little pockets of friction where the community hopefully will learn those lessons. And if you look at the common WordPress developer, implementer, the person who's building the $500 or $600 site, $1,000 site, the ones that we talk about how they irritate us, and I don't mean this in any disrespectful way, but they just don't understand the underpinnings of the software. They don't understand basic HTML and CSS, and when it comes time to modify things, because they don't have that knowledge, things are just patchwork together, or things aren't done right in an insecure way. That real entry-level developer, that bar is going to get raised. And I think that with Gutenberg and the push to JavaScript, I think a lot of people who were, I guess, alumni of the late 90s, early 2000s of HTML and CSS and learning how the internet worked or how web pages worked, at least at that level, those types of developers are going to take a back seat. It's the ones that are investing in further knowledge in JavaScript and new ways of coding websites and headless websites. I think those are the ones that are going to start to win in the 1 year, 2 year, 3 year mark from here on out. I think basically what I'm getting at is it's raising the bar for developers, and I don't think we'll have those cowboy coders show up anymore. There's going to be definitely some time in between, but those gaps are going to be filled with off-the-shelf features, plugins, themes that you can get. Again, I'm just forecasting what I'm thinking this stuff is going to look like. So like I said, I don't have the answers for any of this stuff. I'm not trying to say what those exact changes are. I'm just guessing, just like you. The only way I do that is by having discussions with people, observing the general stream of content that's coming out now versus what was coming out back then. But I just want to have this conversation, a healthy conversation, going into the second half of 2018, and for season 8 of the Matt Report, that will be the center of discussion. What are the changes that we see? How do we perceive these changes, good or bad? And how do we ready ourselves for those changes? How do we ready our businesses, our product and service offering, and how do we ready our customers for the upcoming changes of WordPress, WordPress.com, open source WordPress, all of these things, and how it all sort of impacts our day-to-day. I would love to have you comment below. I know there's a whole bunch of things here. Comment below on how you think WordPress is changing, good, bad, otherwise. Let me know what you're doing to prepare. It's mattreport.com, mattreport.com/subscribe to join the newsletter. Hit thumbs up on this video if you like it, subscribe to the channel. We'll see you in the next video.